Hi and welcome to a somewhat pissed off My Rant Ruminations. So, on Tuesday, I was on my own in the house for 3 days. My partner in crime had gone off to visit her brother, and I was enjoying having the house to myself because it gave me an opportunity to do some pretty messy things that take quite a bit of time, but I don't necessarily want to do when there's other people around because they take up space, what have you. One of the things was trying to see if I could bring an XP era laptop PC back from the dead. I couldn't. So that's me when I have to play it myself, and I normally like it. So Tuesday rolls around and I'm having a pretty good day. I spent most of the day messing around with space engineers and doing some writing and just nice, fun, enjoyable stuff. Cool. Knock at the front door. And I opened the front door and there's this door-to-door salesman. Now I'm going to say salesman. I'll get to what I actually think is going on in a minute. But door-to-door salesman trying to sell these really shit ceramic knives. Now, I don't know if you've ever come across these ceramic knives, but they're crap. They're rubbish. They're terrible for cutting. They're terrible at holding an edge. They're just a bad idea. Besides which, we have several very, very, very good knives, thanks to our friends Jack and Alyssa. So, I say, no thank you, don't want any knives. And he comes out with, do I know you? Have we met out somewhere? And I said, I don't know, I don't go out because, well, I don't go out. No, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. Did I come back to yours and shag you once? At which point my face kind of went, seriously? This guy's at the door and I'm like, no, you didn't, goodbye, I got to close the door. And he puts his foot between the door and the frame, stopping me from closing the door. Now, it blows my mind that in 2015 anyone thinks that that's acceptable. But it gets worse. The next thing he comes out with is first of all, he looks in around the door and has a really good look at the hallway, what have you. Looks me up and down and makes me feel like a piece of fucking meat. Next thing he says, Al, I'm almost finished for the day. I could come in and keep you company for an hour. I'm like, no, get your foot out of the door. Have you a boyfriend? And at that point, the red mist descended. I opened the door. He thought he was coming in. He pushed his foot in a bit further, so his leg was in the door jam. And I slammed the door as hard as I could on his leg and pushed him back, told him to fuck off. And if I ever saw him again, that I would call the police. Now, I did call the police, and I'll get to that in a minute. So first of all, I get the door closed. I lean against the door and wait for the red mist to rise again. Because at this point, all I can think about is getting a sword and hunting this fucker down along the street. An act which would get me sent to jail and him sent to the hospital. So, deep cleansing breaths. In with love. In with blind fury. Out with absolutely nothing. I just get angrier and angrier and angrier, and it just boils over for ages, to the point where I actually really wanted to break something. Eventually it wore off and I was able to sit down and think about what had just happened and really break it down. So we have this guy who shows up at the door selling knives, selling really shit knives. And I remembered that another guy who looks very like this guy, and I reckon it's his father, 2 weeks ago did exactly the same thing, showed up at a door selling really shit ceramic knives and starts going on about how I'm a very good looking woman. You know, and I need to find a good man with that leering, you know, and I'm the one you want face. And again, he was one of those men that as I was closing the door, he tried to move to block the door, but I got it closed fast enough that he couldn't. Both of them had a very, very, very intense look into the hallway, and when they were leaving, I saw them actually like that in our window looking inside. It's at that point that I realized, first of all, both of them, yeah, were trying to get into my pants. Because apparently they'll think that they live in a 1970s sex comedy. They don't. As if, aside from the fact that as if any woman is going to invite a totally strange fucker in from the door for a shag, both of these guys fell off of the ugly tree, hit every branch on the way down face first, landed on the ugly ground, fell through the ugly ground into the ugly cave, got spat out of the ugly cave by the ugly river, and then got ran over by the ugly bus. To say that these guys are not good looking is an insult to people who are merely just not good looking. These guys were incredibly ugly. I mean Quasimodo levels of ugly. I mean Tyrion from the books of Game of Thrones ugly. I mean, fuck me, but not. So, that's ridiculous to begin with. But when I really thought about it, and the fact that actually I remember both of them doing the really intense look, and both of them asked, do I have a boyfriend? As in, is there a man living in the house? That I realized they're looking for houses to break into. They're looking for houses that are vulnerable. Now, I've made it quite clear that I'm not vulnerable, and this house is not vulnerable. And believe me, this house is not vulnerable. I have 2 swords, both of which I actually know how to use. I have multiple staves, all of which I know how to use. There's 2 dogs, one of whom is big enough to probably get you on the ground and take the throat out, and the other one who would burrow her way out of your mouth via your arsehole. This is not a vulnerable house. But it actually really blew my mind that this is going on the main street of a fairly big town in the Dublin suburbs. The fuck? So I rang the police. I said, look, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 guys who look almost like older and younger versions of each other come to the door. They had this, and this. They said these things. They acted this way. I think that they're looking for homes to break into. Turns out the Gardaí have actually had multiple phone calls about this. And I'm recording this mostly for getting it off of my chest and getting it out of my mind, because the nightmares I've had for the last 2 nights, fucking hell. Someone who has PTSD from a rape history doesn't need that. And the forcing yourself into someone's home, which is what jamming your leg in through the door jamb is. That's a pretty nasty invasion. And it's the beginning of a much worse invasion. So there's that. But also I'm just saying, doing this so that people will know, look, this is something that happens. It does happen. You do have very belligerent, predatory people who will show up at your door with an excuse to be at your door. And if they can fuck you, they will. And if they can break in and rob you, they will. So, yeah. I am pretty fucking angry, and I'm really fucking annoyed, and just fuck. Yeah. And before anybody says it, neither of these men were travellers. In my entire life, I have never had problems with anyone, or trouble with anyone from the travelling community. None of them. Most of the ones that I've known have actually been genuinely very nice people, and the ones who weren't very nice were just assholes. These guys were settled. These guys were just predatory, opportunistic bastards. And I'm kind of wishing I let Lulu burrow up through their arse and out through their mouths. I just... In with love, out with pure blind fury and venom. In with love, remember that being this angry is no use because the Iron Banner is over. Yes. Oh, I'm kind of dizzy now. Anyway, that was my Tuesday. Just be aware this does happen. I'm not saying be frightened. Just be cautious, okay? Look after yourselves. And remember, in a pinch, a curtain pull makes a bloody good staff. And you don't want to whack, you want to jab. Because that way you can gouge out eyes, crush throats, smash teeth, basically make them regret ever having been born. There you go, free advice. So, yeah, I'm done with this. Tomorrow we, of course, have part 2 of the Duke's Archives with in Dark Souls. Saturday, of course, is my day of rest. And Sunday I'll be back with another vlog. So I will talk to you all again soon. Have a great day, and bye for now. Fucking bastards.